Guys, Buildzoid here, and this is going to be a sort of like work log. That's for thermal paste. This is going to be a sort of like work log project update style video thing that I'm thinking of putting up on YouTube. Sorry that there's no live stream today, but I didn't really know what to do it about, and I don't want to bore you for 2 hours, so that's that. Um, so let's talk about the actual project that this video is supposed to be about. So, does everybody remember how in live stream number 10 my Sabertooth died? If you haven't seen live stream number 10, I really don't recommend watching live stream number 10 because it's basically me feeling miserable about the fact that my Sabertooth died. So either way, the summation of live stream number 10 is my Sabertooth died. Uh, it stopped working. Okay, I've had the same issue with other Asus boards. It stopped working. It's not fixable. I know it's not fixable. However, if you've been following me on Facebook, then some time ago, I think I posted something along the lines of, I figured out what to do with the Sabertooth. I'm going to make it into an external power board, which is actually against what I said in livestream number 10, where I was like considering, yeah, I'm going to beat the crap out of this thing. So the end result is instead of taking a hammer to the Sabertooth, I took a saw. Ta-da! So you might be thinking like, what purpose could this here serve? Well, while the Sabertooth stopped being a very good motherboard, it still had a perfectly functional VRM. And if I'm only going to be using the VRM, there's no reason to keep any of, well, what was once here, and none of the I/O, because that's just obnoxious. So the I/O is gone, the PCIe and the south bridge is gone, the north bridge is still on here under this heatsink. I tried to remove it, but I couldn't, and at this point the north bridge no longer produces any heat, so I no longer care that it's still on the board. I'm still kind of annoyed that I couldn't remove the RAM slots and all that, but the fact is this voltage controller, that thing there, is rebranded. So I have no idea how it's wired. And yeah, I can just probe it to death and eventually figure out how it works. But I still need to do that. And since I still need to do that, I'm going to take some, I decided might as well saw it off anyway, since regardless of how things would go, if it's going to die, it's going to die. And basically I was ready to take a hammer to the board. So sawing it into pieces before I've managed to probe the crap out of the voltage controller is really not a loss. Also, I was pretty sure throughout the process that the voltage controller wouldn't mind if the USB disappeared, the south bridge disappeared, the north bridge died, and I was correct. This thing, if you take it, plug in a 24-pin, plug in an 8-pin, and you short the 24-pin motherboard connector, there's a pin on there which if you short to ground, it starts the power supply up. So if you short that while it's plugged into the board, so you just short the corresponding pins on the back of the board, not that hard. You can find the pin out on Google. So if you just short the right pins, this starts right up, and this VRM starts right up. And you can see these capacitors right here. I just went and measured across those capacitors to find that, hey, this thing is still powering up and it's producing just around 1.2 volts. So I still have a fully functional VRM right here, while I don't have the rest of the frickin' motherboard to deal with, which, okay, so I haven't actually achieved that much because I still have this horrible block of this. And basically, this is now going to be a alternative power supply for any graphics card that I feel has an inadequate VRM. Um, Speaking of inadequate VRMs, what capabilities does the Sabertooth VRM actually have? Now that I've taken it apart, I don't think I've ever taken the Sabertooth apart, like the heatsink off. Well, I did when I was plasti decamping it, but I wasn't interested in the VRM at the time. So either way, let's actually talk about the VRM since I finally know what it's made of. I don't know what it's made of. The fact is, Asus is using basically unsearchable MOSFETs. You can put them into Google, and I found a Chinese reseller, but I never found a spec for these things. So No idea what they are, but I think they're going to be like 30, maybe 40 amps at ambient temperature, so 25 degrees. At 25 degrees, they might do 40, 30 amps. At 125 degrees, they might do half that, which really isn't that bad because we got three of them, well, two of them per phase. And then there's a high side, which is a different model number, but equally hard to trace. So, probably weaker, but I'm not sure. So, yeah, this VRM is basically, let's say 40 amps times 8. That's 320 amps. That's still plenty of power to go around. So yeah, this is pretty beefy. It's not a true 8-phase though. It's a 4+1 doubled up. I can't show it to you because there's a heatsink over the back of the VRM right now. But basically, there are driver chips. There's 5 driver chips here, and we all know that the Sabertooth has a North Bridge and a V-core voltage in the main heat VRM right here. So one of those drivers is doubling up the +1, and the other 4 drivers are doubling up the 4 PWM signals from the Digi Plus power controller. So that's all well and nice. So yeah, this VRM is kind of janky, but it has 2 voltage outputs. It does still output voltage, and it provides a decent amount of current, which means that basically any graphics card that I feel like could do with a beefier VRM, I'm going to try attach it to it. Now, as of right now, that's actually really hard, because if we look at this, right? I mean, sure, I don't have most of the motherboard any longer, but if we look at, say, this here GTX 570, which I won't actually attach it to, um, the V-core plane is right sort of there under my middle finger, right? That sort of area, that's the V-core plane. And that right there, wait, there we go. Don't want to flip off my own subscribers. That right there is V-core, this sort of area. Well, really all the way down to here, that's all V-core. But that's still hella inaccessible because, right? I mean, sure, if there was connectors there, that wouldn't be so bad. But it is bad. um, yeah, but basically, the idea goes that I could connect the V-core from the motherboard to the V-core of the graphics card, replace the GPU's V-core with my own V-core source, assuming that the GPU's VRM is too weak. And then we can boot it up looking all monstrous and shit. So, yeah. Um, where do I plan to head with this project? So, the rebranded voltage controller isn't really such a big problem. I can still get this to power up. This still powers up. It provides 1.2 volts. I think I've said that before. So it powers right up. It puts 1.2 volts core voltage, 1.2 volts north bridge voltage. So basically at this point, I just need to reverse engineer how this thing works, which basically means I need to find its power supply, its sensing circuitry, and all of that. And really, I just need the power supply because the moment I have the power supply, I can go and cut off all of this of the motherboard, right? And basically, once that's all gone, the whole attaching it to the GPU becomes much less problematic because I can just solder to this bank of capacitors, which is V-core again. Admittedly, that's still really hard, but it's better than, soldering to here. Unless I somehow manage to slash the board, like, diagonally. Like so. That. There. Like that. If I manage to cut the board like that, then I could do it pretty easily. But as of right now, this should be attachable to a graphics card. And on which note, I can't actually do much with this unless I have it attached to some graphics card. So right now the project stands in, I need to get a really cheap graphics card and attach this to it. So if any of you were interested in seeing an HD5, wait, what's it, 5450, I think? That's the really, really cheap old one. Yeah, I think it's the 5450 or like a 250X or something cheap and old. Yeah, one of those is going to get butchered. It's going to it's going to have its VRM replaced with this thing. Hopefully it'll just boot right up. If it just boots right up, I'll be super super happy. That'll be a huge achievement even if this is garbage. And then yeah, and then it's going to be a case of just probing the crap out of the voltage controller until I know how it works. And I'll have my own external power board, which in my opinion is pretty cool as far as uses for dead motherboards go. And actually, talking of dead motherboards, I have another dead Asus board back in the Czech Republic. So once I convert this into a power board, I can go pick that one up and convert that also into a power board, and then I'll have like a pile of power boards and no graphics cards to put them on. Though no, if I actually get this working properly, it'll probably end up replacing the 4870's VRM, because the 4870 has a three-phase, while powerful enough, looks dirty as hell. Three phases is not something I would like running core voltage through, whereas this is four. Four very slow phase, well, four halfway fast and eight really slow ones because it's doubled up. So yeah, that's basically all I wanted to share with you in this video. And yeah, I just took a saw to this thing to cut it up like this. And speaking of cutting PCB, um, do something about all the dust. Okay, I did it by basically having the board like wet. I kept everything wet, so while I was sawing, I was basically it was just getting washed away instantly with water. But if you're cutting PCB, these things are made of fiberglass and copper. Copper dust, not really a big deal. Fiberglass dust is really, really bad for your health, as far as I'm aware. So be careful. You don't want to just go cutting a PCB. So, yeah. But that's basically what happened to the Sabertooth. I hope you found this halfway interesting. Um, so, yeah. Thanks for watching, I guess. And yeah, this does work. I've tested it. I'm not going to show you right now because it's awkward, awkward to get this to boot and have the camera looking at it. But you'll be seeing a conclusion of this probably really soon, because I'll probably be able to get a graphics card to power this. Well, this to power a graphics card. I might just throw it on the 4870 right off the bat. Um, Actually, no, because that has a Volterra. What GPU should I kill with this? Who knows? Either way, this is what the Sabertooth is going to be doing from now on. I think this is a better use of a dead motherboard than beating it with a hammer, but ultimately, who knows? This doesn't seem like a particularly powerful VRM. Though, if you killed something with like a really overbuilt VRM, like say like say the M Power, or some other motherboard with like a ridiculously powerful VRM, the X Power X789 comes to mind. This is an option. This is a legit option. And if you killed an MSI board or some board that isn't using a ridiculously proprietary voltage controller, you don't even need all of what I'm keeping here, right? It's like if you killed a board with an IR voltage controller and not a DigiPlus controller, you can just saw everything off because those things are really easy to hotwire. Well, easy to hotwire. They have data sheets that are halfway like you can check if there's a data sheet and you can do it all properly instead of having most of the motherboard still in your hand at the end of the day. So yeah, that's that. Um, Thanks for watching. I hope you found this interesting. If you didn't find this interesting, there's a downvote. Well, no, there's not a downvote. Too much Reddit. Dislike button. Somewhere down here. And if you did find this interesting, well, there's a like button, and that'll tell me to make more stupid garbage like this. Um, well, not necessarily like this, but other stupid overclocking related projects like this. Um, and yeah, so like, dislike, depending on if you found it interesting or not. Will there be a live stream? Yeah, there will be a live stream on Saturday. I try to always do one at least on Saturday. I still have LN2 in the tank. I'm not quite sure what I'll do yet. Gigabyte review soon. What else? That's basically it, right? Oh yeah, like, share, subscribe, share. Please share this video. I don't know who you'd want to share chopped up motherboards with, but find somebody to share it with. More views, more better. Um, and prove to me that I shouldn't have just beaten it with a hammer. Because if I had just beaten the motherboard with a hammer, I could have probably, posted it as a rage video or something, and gotten half a couple thousand views of worth of cringe out of it. Um, yeah, but yeah, like, share, subscribe, and consider donating so that I can replace this. I don't know. Donate to stop motherboard abuse. And that's it for this video, and goodbye.